we're talking about the journey, right? We've all been on this journey, and sometimes things happen. In 2015, my middle daughter was on her way home. She was hit head on by a drunk driver. She was killed by a drunk driver. And trying to figure out what to do with that and how to, manage that as a family. And we realized, going back to, I knew what my daughter wanted to do. She's a junior in UCF down here, and she wanted to help people. She was majoring in sociology and things like that. So we started a foundation, and it was just to kind of raise awareness about drunk driving. But as it grew and we started talking to kids, we realized there's a lot more going on than just, telling them about something that doesn't really affect them yet. If they're in high school, and kids will do stuff in high school, but we started hearing their stories and how they were affected by something else. So the foundation started to make sure that my daughter was never considered a statistic. And so we knew that there's something we could do to make sure that she wasn't treated that way or anyone else. And it's kind of blossomed in this 6 years now that she's been gone. And the foundation now travels nationwide. We speak from elementary schools to college. We speak with sports teams. We work with law enforcement, corporate events, and we talk about decisions people make and how they affect other people. So for the kids, we touch on social media and the bullying, and I go back to wrestling because if anybody's going to tell kids about social media and the effects of it, I figure I'm a pretty good candidate to explain to them how the good and bad of social media works. But then that whole time in the business, I never, what you're groomed for, and we're in front of millions of people in our career and performing, but it also gave me the confidence to know that I could speak to a group and have that message, resonate. So I always go back, and I've said this every time, that wrestling prepared me for what I'm actually supposed to be doing. And so we travel. We have victim services here at the foundation. We work with families that have been affected to make sure that as they try to navigate their journey, that we're with them every step of the way. And then we work on legislature, and the running joke when people go, Bill Demott, like wrestling, Bill Demott, and they don't often think of you as halfway intelligent. Right? They go, oh, you're the wrestler. But then when they talk to you, realize what you're talking to them about. And they're like, wow. So I'm always grateful to wrestling because it gave me that platform to be able to speak and deal with all kinds of things. But just like John, just like what you're doing, we just know there's a calling for it. And this is my calling. And so this is what I do 7 days a week. When I finished up with WWE in 2015, this all happened within the same 3-month period. And so I stopped working altogether. This is all volunteer stuff, just to get out there and be in front of people. And now we travel, and I drive around the country, and we speak, and I'm surrounded by guys that are doing it. You being one, Mark Merrow being another, and guys that have just had life experience and want to do something for someone else. And it all goes back to that coaching thing and what we've done. And if I was willing to coach athletes who were trying to do something, let's coach these kids into making decisions that they're going to keep them around and stuff like that. So that's kind of where it's been. That's been the last 6.5 years. And I try to keep my ear to the pavement. I'm always, you cannot never be a fan of the business. I still, in my mind, I'm prepared for one more season to toughen up somewhere down the line. I'm waiting for that call. I know Laurinaitis has got my number on speed dial, so I know it's coming. But yeah, so that's what we're doing. And so we're a 501c3, we're a nonprofit. Everything we do stays where we are. We just opened a chapter of the foundation in New Jersey, and we're up there quite a bit. So wherever we are, we raise those funds and things to get into those schools and speak to the kids. I just got back from Alabama, where I spoke to 3,200 kids last week, and to get that response from them after a prom or graduation saying, wow, thank you. And the parents are, I don't know what you said, but the conversation has been pretty cool. And, to be sappy, it all comes back to that coaching and being coachable and then just trying to help people out. And I think it'd be easy to go out, and it's not a knock on anybody, but I don't want to go out and take bumps and stuff. I have a bigger platform now, and wrestling has helped me find that. And so
what do you need legislatively to help?
So what, as like a lot of things, if it doesn't apply to us, we don't know really what the law is. We know drinking and driving is against law. So then you start looking into these laws and what they really say, and you find out what they say and what's being done are two different things. So what we're working on here in Florida first is accountability for what the law says, because you can get stopped for drunk driving 67 times, once in each county, before you ever get charged once, because they have diversion programs or these things. But in the law, it doesn't state that. So the man who took my daughter's life was a 3-time offender. So he did this 3 times before he killed my daughter, because there's options. So we want to hold offenders accountable, but we want to hold judges and legislature accountable. So when we're not speaking and working with families and doing the things we do, we work on the legislature. So every year we've gotten closer. And I think this may be the year where right now we're calling it Kerry's Law goes into place. And it just means accountability for what's written. The law is the law. There's no leeway. You can't be 3 times over the limit and get a fine and go about your business. The law states certain things, and that's what we're trying to get rid of the repeat offender mentality.
Right.
That's always frustrating when you hear about a tragic accident like that and you start reading a story. This is the 6th time or 3rd or 4th time this guy has been charged. Why?
Yeah. I speak at victims impact panels. I travel the state and I go and share my daughter's story with offenders. It's part of their sanctions. They have to go to a victims impact panel. And to know that someone's been in that class 7 times now is it's appalling as a father, but as someone just a citizen, like there's people out there, they can do whatever they want until something happens. So one of our big things is we want people to get involved before they get affected. So we talk about drunk, impaired, distracted driving, and then those decisions and how it, domino theory of how it affects people down the line.
Are you guys working with Dutch Mantella? Because I know his granddaughter was tragically killed.
Yeah, when that happened, Dutch and I actually spoke, and then I'm not sure what's gone on since then, but like a lot of tragedies and things like that, everybody handles it different. And we found out, and what got me speaking was I'd met a dad who his daughter was taken from him, and he didn't leave his house for 8 years. He was kind of wasting away because he didn't know what to do, and he came to something I spoke at for law enforcement, and he stopped me and he looked me in the eye, and he's an older gentleman, and he said, "Don't stop talking." And that was just the sign of they just hit you in the heart, and he told me that his wife said he hasn't spoken to anybody in 8 years. He hasn't been out of the house, and tonight he came out of the house for this. So when he said, "Don't stop," and I have my boy's 13, and my oldest daughter's 28, they need to know that they have a voice. They need to, because they're going through it just like me and their mom are. And so I don't want them to be afraid of life. I don't want them to shelter in. I want to help them through the process, and at the same time set the tone for them to know that they have things to do, and they're gonna be useful to people, and it's gonna be yeah, we're changing, I say Carrie allows me to speak for her, and she's changing the world. She's saving lives. So that's kind of like my thing now.
Bill, what's the answer on the prosecution end? Is it for repeat offender? Is it taking their license? Is it locking them up? What is the answer on that end?
So in Florida, I'm not sure what it's like in every state, but in Florida, it says on your license that if you refuse field sobriety tests or you get stopped, and if you refuse to take those tests, you lose your license for a year. Automatic, no matter if you're convicted or not, you lose your license for the year. Well, that doesn't come to be. They go and they plead down, and then they get their license back. And so there is no sanctions really. So everything that's in place, there's no, everybody changed it. Judges don't feel like it's important. It's a misdemeanor. But if it's your third time, you're still treating it like a misdemeanor. And it's not your third time, like 0.08 and going, this person's barely drunk. These are people that are 3 and 4 times over the limit.
Sure.
When you drink that much, and I always say, I know how much I can drink, but it doesn't mean I should be out driving, doing it. And I made the decision to get behind the wheel, knowing what I've drank, So we start letting people know, like, you can't do this. And it starts with the judges. You can't decide what's important and what's not important, and how many times that same judges let the same person go. So now they have to be held accountable. So we've, much like wrestling, right? So there's got to be a bad guy. And so sometimes I'll get on the social media, or I'll get to a news thing, and I'll call that judge by name, and I want to know. I want, everybody needs to know why this is happening, and what's going on. So we've made a lot of headway here in Florida, and as things branch out, there may be an opportunity coming up soon to speak on the national level. I've been asked if I was interested in going to Washington to address the issue. So the answer is yes. Not what I set out to do. I'd much rather be talking about flag football or something like that, or my boys' baseball games. But there's, like, it didn't pertain to me until it happened. And I think that's awful sometimes, that's how we learn more. But like, it goes back to, I know what my kid was going to do, and I want to make sure that she does it.
And how can people support what you're doing?
Just by going to our website, and it's a long one. It's www.thecarrieanndemottfoundation.com. We're a 501c3, so everything we do is donations and sponsorships. We don't have backing. Like I said, everything I do is volunteer. Everybody who's on our board, everybody's a volunteer. And so we hold events for the community throughout the year. We have scholarships for high school students. We also have scholarships for law enforcement and first responders, so they can continue their education and not pay out of their pocket. So everything we're doing, we want to make sure that it goes back to everybody getting the things they need to, one, protect us and keep educating everybody else, but then two, to let people know that we have an epidemic that needs to be, discussed, because they're, numbers wise, over 10,000 people a year. So a terrible analogy, if 10 people got shot in a mall, it's national news. And it's a tragedy. 10,000 people a year are being killed.
Right.
By something we can control. So, or at least hold them accountable, because if I know I can keep getting away with it, well, there's really no punishment. So, and unfortunately, the man who kept making the same decision, on his 4th time, he killed my daughter, and I need to make sure that that doesn't happen to someone else.